Hello, my name is Nick Winter, and my presentation is on Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. My focus is on how the film uses history, gender, and Steven Spielberg's personal background to create a deeper message beyond just action and adventure. Even though this movie is entertaining and fast-paced, it also reflects larger ideas about World War II, morality, power, gender roles, and family. In this presentation, I will explain how the film turns history into a moral adventure and how the characters reveal cultural and social messages. My thesis is that Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade uses World War II, the Holy Grail, and archaeology to turn history into a moral adventure about power, faith, gender expectations, and responsibility. The film is not trying to be a fully realistic historical account. Instead, it uses history as a setting for a story about good versus evil. The Nazis are presented as clear villains, while Indiana Jones and his father are connected to preservation, humility, and moral responsibility. The movie follows Indiana Jones as he searches for the Holy Grail after his father, Henry Jones Sr., disappears. Henry has spent much of his life studying the Grail, so the search is important both historically and personally. The Nazis are also searching for the Grail because they believe it can give them power. This creates the main conflict of the movie. Indiana and his father want to protect or understand the Grail, while the Nazis want to use it for domination. Elsa Schneider is another major character. At first, she seems like a helpful academic and possible love interest for Indiana. However, she is later revealed to be working with the Nazis, which makes her role more complicated. The ending shows the deeper meaning of the Grail. It cannot be treated like a trophy or a tool for power. Indiana survives because he learns humility and restraint, while characters who chase the Grail for selfish reasons are destroyed. To analyze the film, I used three critical lenses. The first is the cultural historical lens. This lens looks at how the movie represents World War II, archaeology, and history. It helps show how the film simplifies real historical events into a clear adventure story. The second is the feminist lens. This lens focuses on Elsa Schneider and how the movie represents women. Elsa is intelligent and active in the plot, but she is also connected to stereotypes involving romance, manipulation, and betrayal. The third is the biographical lens. This lens looks at Steven Spielberg's background and how his Jewish identity and interest in family themes may influence the film's portrayal of Nazis and the father-son relationship. Lens 1: Cultural Historical Analysis. Through the cultural historical lens, the movie shows how popular films often reshape history for entertainment. The film is set during World War II and uses Nazis as the main villains. Instead of showing the full complexity of history, the movie turns Nazis into symbols of greed, violence, and corruption. This makes the moral conflict easy for the audience to understand. The Holy Grail is also important because it turns history and religion into a test of character. The Nazis want the Grail because they want power, but Indiana survives because he learns that some things should not be controlled or possessed. The film also presents archaeology as an adventure. Indiana does not spend most of the time carefully researching artifacts. Instead, archaeology becomes about danger, clues, travel, and heroic action. The limitation is that the movie centers a Western hero as the person who understands and controls sacred history. So while the movie is exciting, it also simplifies global history and turns other cultures and religious symbols into a part of Indiana's adventure. Lens 2: Feminist Lens. Through the feminist lens, Elsa Schneider is the most important character to analyze. On one hand, Elsa challenges gender expectations. She is educated, confident, and directly involved in the search for the Grail. She is not just a background character or helpless victim. She knows about history, she makes decisions, and she affects the plot. However, Elsa also reflects gender stereotypes. Her role is strongly tied to romance, manipulation, betrayal, and ambition. She is presented as attractive and intelligent, but the story eventually connects her power to deception. Her ending is also important. Elsa reaches for the Grail and falls to her death. This suggests that her ambition is punished. Indiana also wants the Grail, but he survives because he learns to let it go. That creates a gendered contrast where the male hero gains wisdom, while the ambitious female character is destroyed. So Elsa is complex. She is stronger than a simple stereotype, but the film limits her by making her serve the male hero's story. Lens 3, Biographical Lens. Through the biographical lens, Steven Spielberg's background helps explain some of the movie's themes. Spielberg's Jewish identity is important when thinking about how Nazis are portrayed. In this movie, the Nazis are not shown as complicated or sympathetic. They are shown as morally corrupt and dangerous. This makes sense because Nazis' historic history is directly connected to anti-Semitism and the Holocaust. The movie also connects Nazi villainy to spiritual corruption. The Nazis do not just want military power, they want to take something sacred, the Holy Grail, and use it for domination. This makes them villains not only politically, but morally and spiritually. The father-son relationship is also important. Spielberg often includes family conflict and emotional distance in his films. Indiana and Henry start the movie with a strained relationship. Henry has focused more on the Grail than his own son, but by the end, Henry tells Indiana to let the Grail go, choosing his son over the object he has searched for his entire life. This gives the adventure emotional depth because the story is not only about finding the Grail, it is also about family, forgiveness, and choosing people over objects. In conclusion, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade is more than just an action-adventure movie. Through the cultural historical lens, the film simplifies World War II into a moral adventure. Nazis represent corruption and greed, while Indiana represents courage, preservation, and responsibility. Through the feminist lens, Elsa Schneider is shown as a complex female character. She challenges passive female roles because she is intelligent and active, but she is still limited by stereotypes involving sexuality, betrayal, and punishment for ambition. Through the biographical lens, Spielberg's personal background helps explain the strong portrayal of Nazis and the emotional importance of the father-son relationship. The final takeaway is that popular films do more than entertain. They shape how audiences understand history, gender roles, morality, and personal identity. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade uses adventure to teach a larger lesson about power, faith, and responsibility. These here are the references I used to support my analysis. And with that, I would like to thank you for listening to my presentation.